Back tonight here on In Focus. Taps in some parts of eThekwini are still dry, and residents might still have to wait some time before the situation improves. Residents of Phoenix and Westville, north of Durban, say they are still battling with continuous water outages. Westville Ratepayers Association chairperson Asad Gaffer joins us now for an update. Asad, good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on. Since the time we've spoken to you, how's the time of the floods? Talk to us about how you've been living as far as water supply is concerned.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, look, we're still in discussions with the city. It's a major crisis. In fact, we called it a crisis the last time when we spoke with the mayor, and he refuted the comment, and he kept saying it's a challenge. Clearly, it's a crisis. I mean, there are areas, many areas going without water. It takes the city a long time to actually fix any of these problems and repair the broken pipes. In fact, there's the sewer spills are still a major issue. Just a week ago, we brought it to their attention, and the city says they don't have any money to effect these repairs, which is a serious concern for us. Considering the fact that just this morning we received a report that the city is now going to be spending 2 million rand on a musical festival. And again, we're calling this out because that's not the core function of the city. I mean, these fashion shows, these extravaganzas, musical comedies, sketches, that's not the core focus of a municipality. Water is a constitutional right. And the city needs to prioritize this. Yeah. It's not to say that there isn't any money available. There's plenty money available, considering the fact that they have money to have all of these nice to haves. And we are saying reprioritize all of these unnecessary expenditures and focus on water. We're talking about areas like, Richmond Farm, Inanda, Kwamashu, that have not have water for more than 3 years. Yeah. Surely that should be a priority.
What's the extent of the damage to the pipeline? How many pipes are we talking about? What's the stretch of kilometers that we're talking about?
Look, I mean, the infrastructure is aged. The city acknowledges that. Much of the pipelines are over 50 years old, 60 years old. The lifespan of these pipes usually lasts about 40 to 50 years. If it is maintained regularly, you can push it up to maybe 70, 75 years. And we know for a fact that the eThekwini municipality has not been doing regular service and maintenance on any of the infrastructure. In some areas, we're still talking about pipes that are made from asbestos. I mean, those pipes are still in the ground. So we're talking kilometers and kilometers of pipeline. If we start today and start section by section to get the entire area of eThekwini up to standard, would probably take maybe 10 to 15 or maybe even longer than that. 10 to 15 years I'm talking about, or maybe even longer than that. But it needs to happen. I mean, there's many new areas that are coming into eThekwini. The city, the mayor, in fact, always comments that people like the city and lots of people are migrating and coming into eThekwini. So provision needs to be made so that we can supply all of these individuals with water. Yeah. We can't be, bringing in more people and relying on the same infrastructure. That's not going to make sense. I mean, I don't think the city has even put up any new reservoirs. Yeah. They haven't expanded on reservoirs. They haven't, in fact, the demand on the water at the moment from Mgeni water far exceeds what the city can supply. So there's now the discussion of looking at alternate, means of getting water. They're talking about building a new dam. They're talking about desalination plants, which is moving in the right direction. We're not saying that it's anything wrong with that. But at the same time, you can't be putting that water in damaged infrastructure. You're losing most of the water that you're purchasing. Almost close to about 58% of the water that we purchase is being lost. And we're not talking about water or non-revenue water that's going to impoverish communities, because we support that. That needs to happen. So the fact that people need to get water, and if they can't afford to pay for it, that still needs to happen. But at the same time, the city still needs to ensure that it is regulated, it's documented, and we know the quantity. How can the city be budgeting or having any future plans for the city if they don't have an idea as to how much of water is actually going for free to communities?
So as far as a proactive maintenance strategy, how much of that is currently in place? For example, on the pipeline, I think that is connecting Westville and the south part, I suppose, of eThekwini, we hear that they are currently fixing those two pipelines, or at least one that has been lying dormant for a while, and the other one is full of leaks. But they're saying there's a construction company on site. Are you seeing that?
Look, I mean, there's two major arterial lines. One is the southern aqueduct and one is the northern aqueduct. The northern aqueduct is feeding the northern parts of the city, areas like Kwamashu, Phoenix, Tongat. That's been a major problem. Those areas are continually being put on water shedding because they can't feed all of the reservoirs at the same time. So some areas get shut down until there's sufficient water in the reservoir. And then once that one reaches a certain limit, then they switch on the next one. And then the southern aqueduct is the one that's feeding lower lying areas like Mxolisi, Scottsboro, that towards the south of eThekwini. That's a major problem. That's been a major problem since the floods. And it needs to be repaired because how do you meet demand if you don't have the pipelines? So we're not going to clap hands for something that the city is supposed to be doing. This is part of their function. So no one's going to clap for them. It needs to happen, and they must do what is required from them.
Any indications of the timelines? I mean, are they talking about how long? I mean, considering what you were telling us around the budgets and the availability of resources, how long are they likely to take before this situation is resolved?
Look, in our opinion, they need to get skilled personnel in. And we find that to be a major problem. And I'll give you a simple example. We had an issue in Westville about a month ago, and they had to repair a line. And it took a few days, about 3 or 4 days to repair that line. And finally, when they got that line repaired, most of the areas received water, and there were about maybe 5 or 6 roads that were without water, and this was going on for over a week. And the city was running helter-skelter. They didn't know where the valves are. They didn't know where the air release valves are. They couldn't figure out what the issue was. It so happened that in this period, we had a meeting with the head of water, Ednick Mxolisi. And we mentioned to him, we said, Ednick, the only possible outcome as to why those particular areas, it was just a few roads, is not getting water is because there's an airlock in the system. And he listened to us, and he instructed his team to go and look and find or look for the airlock. And within a couple of hours, it was resolved. But I mean, we are ordinary ratepayers association. Surely they should be having engineers, qualified personnel that know what they're doing so that they don't have these issues. And that's the concern that we have.
With the possible, of course, changes in administration, are you concerned around the issues that you would have raised, for example, with Minister Senzo Mchunu, and whether those issues are going to take the back burner, or are you confident that whoever comes in will be able to take up those issues?
Look, I think the country at large has spoken. Everyone's looking for change. I mean, the fact that this result has come out the way it has come out is an indication that everyone is not happy with the current administration, looking for positive change. We don't want a situation where we're jumping in from the frying pan into the fire. However, with that being said, I mean, the next week is going to be critical. I think probably by Friday we will know exactly where we stand. But in terms of eThekwini as an administration, that will remain the status quo until 2026 when the local government elections come into play. But for now, possibly from a provincial level, even maybe from a national level, we may see positive things. Maybe the new water minister may be serious about his work and ensure that things get done. Because again, people will hold the new administration to account. I don't think going forward, people are just going to sit back and accept poor service delivery across the country. So we're hoping. I mean, we have a beautiful country. And there's lots that we can achieve if we all stand united. And I do believe that we will head in the right direction and things will get better. I mean, 30 years into democracy, we're talking about communities without water. They're receiving water via a tanker, and that's not the right thing. I mean, you look at a grandmother carrying a 20-liter bucket on her head for 1 kilometer just to get water. It's unacceptable. I mean, that sort of behavior needs to stop.
Right. Asad, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. Speaks for the Westville Ratepayers Association. He's the chairperson there, Asad Gaffer.